This presentation should not take too long, so we should have plenty of time for questions. So what is Retire Ready Tennessee? A lot of us, including myself, remember the days before it where we just got correspondence from TCRS, whereas now everything's kind of Retire Ready oriented. State Treasurer took this step when he came into office in 2009. Took a few years to get it up and running, and really all it does is it combines TCRS, our 401k plan, which you all will have. You already have a 457 plan. Hopefully in the future you'll have the states as well. And then all the education we can do. These group presentations being one of them, and then the one-on-one education that Ben can work with you all on, and our retirement, pre-retirement counselors, which we'll talk about as well, can also do. So it's really just an umbrella, one-stop shop for retirement and all the different plans we have. So today we're going to talk about TCRS. TCRS is our pension plan. It's our lifelong check. That's what everyone calls it. The C in TCRS is important. We're consolidated. A lot of states aren't. We used to not be. We'll talk about that in a minute. Meaning you can move around from entity to entity that has TCRS and continue to build your service and salary. Okay? Benefits are calculated with a set formula. People ask me all the time, James, how do I make my TCRS benefit bigger? Well, there's two things that really matter in TCRS, and that is time and money. Okay? Age is a factor as well, but the two biggest things are time and money, and we will talk about both of those. Contributions are not available for withdrawal until termination of employment. For most of you, that is not that is a non-issue. You are a non-contributory employer. I cannot stress how lucky you are, okay? There's not many. I can count on one hand how many non-contributory employers we have in Middle Tennessee, and you're one of them. Personally, I pretend like I'm a contributory employer, and I take that 5% that I'd otherwise be putting in TCRS, and I put it in deferred compensation. Okay? So think of yourself as very lucky. I'm one of those people as well. The state went to a contributory structure back in 2014. I was grandfathered in the non-contributory structure, so I feel very lucky. The employer bears the investment risk. We've got about 60. Yeah, a non-contributory city is where Hendersonville pays 100% of your pension. You don't have to kick any money in, okay? Most places require their employees to put 5% in, okay? To help fund their pension. It's their money, you get it back in one of several different ways. But we don't really need to talk about that today because you don't have any money in the plan. So it's all Hendersonville's money in the plan. And Hendersonville bears the investment risk. So right now we're sitting at about $62 billion in trust with TCRS. 70% of that is from investment returns. Okay? Unlike most states, we do not outsource our investments. We have state employees that we hire from Wall Street. We have an entire trading floor in downtown Nashville, and they actively trade that. The only thing that we outsource are international stocks, so we don't have to have an overnight trading desk. Okay? So that's a unique piece of TCRS, and we don't just do TCRS. We work with the lottery money, the college money, all kinds of different state monies. But right now we're sitting at about $62 billion. We had a high water mark a year and a half ago at about 70. But all that being said is that whatever happens in the markets, the employer bears that risk. TCRS is based off of assumptions, okay, kind of like insurance. Our biggest assumption is what we're going to return in the markets. Then we look at salaries, salary increases. We look at how long people are working, mortality assumptions, things like that, okay? So we turned 50 last year. Treasurer likes us to let you know that prior to 72, we had 7 different plans. So we had a state plan, we had a trooper plan, we had a teacher plan, we had plans local governments could be into. In 72, we consolidated it to make it so employees could move throughout the system and continue to build your service and your salary. Time, money, right? Time and money. Who's in TCRS? All state agencies, all higher ed, and all teachers are statutorily required to be in TCRS. 570 political subdivisions. That's getting closer to 600 now. We have them coming on every quarter. Participate in TCRS. The vast majority of those are in the legacy plan, which you are in. Okay. We also have some in what we call a hybrid structure plan, okay? And 5 in an alternative plan that just came out a couple of years ago. Obviously, not many people use that one.
Did you say we were in or we were not in the legacy?
You are in the legacy plan, yes, sir. All right, so legacy plan. You are in the legacy plan. It is a benefit based on a formula, which we're going to cover. Investing is 5 years. So what does that mean? That means after 5 years of service in TCRS, it doesn't have to be here, it can be anywhere in the TCRS system, you are due a benefit, even if you leave, never come back. When are you due that benefit? You're due it at age 60 and at least 5 years or 30 years of service, regardless of age. Okay? So do we have 48, 49-year-old retirees? Sure, lots of them. Okay? I won't be one of those because I started the state when I was 30, so I will hit 30 and 60 at the same time. Can you work longer than that? Absolutely. Every extra year adds more to your benefit. Okay? Again, can't stress enough, you are non-contributory. The city pays 100% of your benefit. That's amazing. Okay?
So what's that percentage of that after the 30 years?
We're going to cover that here in just a minute. All right, so we talked about what determines your benefit. First thing is what we call average final compensation, or the money. Okay? People call it the high five. The law says it's the highest 60 consecutive months of salary. So for most of us, it's going to be our last 5 years. It does not have to be. We see it all the time. We see teachers become principals, finish office teachers, take that salary snapshot wherever it is in your career and at whatever employer you were at, okay? So I had a gentleman at the state several years ago. He was fairly high up, had 28 years. For whatever reason, he was able to do this financially. He decided to finish off his last 2 years working at his local county animal shelter, full-time, making, an hourly wage. But when he retired at 30 years, his benefit was based on that high 60 consecutive months of the state, okay? And then your age, it's a factor there. You all have early retirement, and you can go at age 55 invested. It's about a 23% reduction. You also can go at 25 years if you're not 55. The double penalty. Don't see a lot of those, okay? And then here's really where the rubber meets the road in terms of how much you get. So this will answer your question. We take the accrual factor, what we call the multiplier, which in Tennessee is a conservative multiplier. And I'll preface this by saying we are the third best funded public pension plan in the U.S. That money is there for you. We pre-fund TCRS. As opposed to Social Security, it is pre-funded. The money is there, okay? State law requires that the state pays the actuarially determined contribution and that all of our political subdivisions do as well, okay, to keep that plan funded. So we take our multiplier of 1.575, we multiply it by that average final compensation, the money, and we multiply it by the time. Okay, this is easy iPhone math. So if you're doing it on your phone, do 0.01575 times salary times years. That's going to give you an annual benefit, which we divide by 12 because we do pay monthly on the last business day of the month. Folks, this represents the maximum benefit or the single life annuity. Okay, what does that mean? About 2/3 of our members choose this at retirement. This is a decision you choose when you retire, not now. We're going to talk about all the survivorship options just so you know they exist. This dies with you, okay? So you retire, you live a month into retirement, something unfortunate happens, and you pass away, and nothing goes on, okay? Why? Because you don't have any money in the plan, right? There's none of your money's in there. Or you could be one of our 153 last time I checked, this could have changed, folks that are over the age of 100 who've been drawing for 40 years, okay? 40 plus years. Again, this is a decision you make when you're filling out your retirement application. I would prefer this decision to be made at least 6 months before when you're doing your pre-retirement counseling, which everybody in here is going to do, okay? Yes, yes. I'll tell you some stories about people who don't do pre-retirement counseling here in a minute. All right, so service retirement, we said age 60, invested, or 30 years of service regardless of age. Every extra year you work, is what? An extra 1.575%. I had a teacher call me last week. She said, James, I'm thinking about retiring at the end of this year, but I might give it an extra year. Is that worth it? I said, well, is 1.575% worth it? Because that is exactly what it will be, okay? Does this cap out? It does, and I hope no one in the room ever gets to that point. So if we take the maximum benefit, 30 years is about a 47% income replacement of that high five number, okay? If you hit 90%, so we're talking almost 60 years of service, and these people do exist, we're going to stop it, okay? It caps out at 90%. Early retirement, 55 invested, one retirement reduction, 25 early. Under 55, double penalty. Again, we don't see a ton of that. Most people will at least try to wait to turn it on until you're 60. I want to take a moment. A lot of people think that when they leave a job, so let's say one of you leaves the city of Hendersonville and takes a job in the private sector, that you have to retire. You're 55 and you have to. No, you don't. Best idea is just to wait and turn it on at 60, so you don't take any reductions. Okay. So I have 13 years of service. Also an attorney. If I went into private practice tomorrow, I would just need to remember to turn that benefit on at age 60. Okay. Believe it or not, there's a ton of people that forget. We're going through a project now where we are informing 12,000 people that they have a benefit that they have not turned on yet. Okay. Disability, death, and sick days, we're going to cover these briefly. Just know that disability retirement exists, okay, just like Social Security does. We don't talk to Social Security does not talk to us. If you are in a situation, or your staff is in a situation where you're going to have to go on disability and are going through that Social Security disability process, you need to go through it with us as well. Luckily, we ask for basically the same stuff. We outsource that evaluation to the University of Massachusetts Medical Center, and they make that determination. We will always give you the best benefits you're eligible for. People will apply for disability all the time, and maybe they're 58 years old. Because when you take that early retirement at 55, the reduction gets less and less the closer you get to 60. So sometimes that early retirement is going to be better. So they're always going to give you the best benefit you're eligible for, okay? Death benefits, this kind of opens the door to us talking about what I'd like to offer all of y'all to do today is to log on to your TCRS account. Let's make sure our beneficiary is who we want it to be. And if you're married, let's make sure our beneficiary is our spouse. Death benefits are spousal only. And you have to have 10 years of service. So if you were to pass away in Hendersonville with 8 years of service, there is nothing pension-wise that goes on to anyone, okay? I have 13 years of service. If I got in a car wreck on the way back to Nashville today, Chelsea knows to call that number. She will immediately start receiving a benefit, okay? Based on service and salary. It's a different computation. So let's make sure while we're working, that is our spouse. Those of you that have come from other employers that might be contributory, you do have some money in the plan. So let's make sure that whoever the beneficiary is who you want to receive your contributions, okay? People move around in TCRS a lot, so we have a lot of people that work for a non-contributory employer but have been at a contributory employer. That money's still in there. Main way you get it back is we pull it off your benefit. It goes quick, and the city funds you the rest of the time. But if you die in service and you're contributory, that money always goes to your beneficiary in lump sum. Folks, sick days count. Oh, let's go back to death benefits. When does the spousal rule end? I was just checking to make sure you had this provision. You do. Just to let you know, Hendersonville has basically every provision in the book. You have what's called the option 1 death benefit. It will make a little bit more sense in a minute. So raise your hand if you're retirement eligible. Are you 60? Do you have 30 years of service? So several of you, okay? If you don't have a spouse, you guys are in good shape. If you have a spouse, the same thing happens. Once you hit retirement eligibility, the death benefit kind of goes out the window, and we simply retire you under the 100% survivorship option. And whoever your beneficiary is receives a lifetime payout. We'll talk about those options in a minute. It'll make some more sense. So kind of rule of thumb between 10 years of service and retirement eligibility, let's make sure it's our spouse if we have one. If you are non-contributory, don't have any money in the plan at all, and you pass away prior to 10 years of service, would anything go on to your beneficiary? And the answer is no. Currently, local governments have to have 10 years of service for the death benefit to kick in, okay? Sick days count when you retire. So I always talk about this when I do new teacher orientations, and these 21, 22-year-olds that start looking at their phone, they don't think about that. But I always say, you'll thank me later. I'll probably be dead, but you'll thank me, hopefully. Every 20 unused sick days you have at retirement converts into 1 month of service. So that goes to the timepiece. Remember, time and money. On the state level, they're very generous with us. We have people that can retire at 28 years of service all the time because they to push them over that threshold of 30. Or if you have over 30, it just gives you more service, right? Now we prorate. I use 20 for purposes. We're going to give you credit for every single day you have, okay? And your employer certifies that on your retirement application, okay? Yeah, you all have the provision, and you use it how you want to use it. So 20 days equals a month, whatever you all certify, okay? All right, cost of living adjustment. Not all political subdivisions have this. Y'all are lucky to have it. I'm lucky to have it. When we retire, we're going to get a raise every year, and it compounds, okay? So a lot of people have what we call simple COLA, where it doesn't compound. It's always based on your base benefit. But you all have compound COLA. It is capped at 3%. I've been asked a lot recently if we're going to increase that, like Social Security did. I don't know. I will say that all of our retirees did receive the full 3% this past July 1st, okay? And I have not seen that before. It's been hovering between 1.5% to 2.5%. You got to be retired for a fiscal year to receive it. So when are we busiest? Here's your first quiz. June 30th. With a retirement date of July 1st. If you think retiring right after the July 4th holiday is a good idea, you might want to rethink it, because you will have to wait basically 2 years to get COLA, okay? So we are, as a retirement date of July 1st is always the best thing to do if you want to get the COLA the following year. All full-time folks here in Hendersonville have mandatory participation. They do not have an option. Let's talk about payouts. So we talked about the max, the one that about 2/3 of our members choose, the one that dies with you, okay? There are 4 survivorship options. You do not have to make this decision now. I just want you to know they exist. They will be talked to you in detail when you do your pre-retirement counseling, okay? All right, option 1. This is what happens if you die while employed and you're retirement eligible, automatically, option 1, okay? So let me explain all 4 of them and it'll make more sense. I'm going to use my wife as an example. Chelsea is 3 years younger than me. She's female. Those are the 2 things they take into account, okay? Let's say my max benefit, the one that dies with me, would be $1,000 a month, just to make things easy, okay? I say, you know what? I think Chelsea needs to get the same amount as I get upon my death. They might reduce me down to $800 a month. I'm going to pay for it, right? Why? Because when I die, she's going to get $800 a month forever, okay? This is completely hypothetical. Why? Because I'm not old enough or close enough to retirement to even see what these look like. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. It's permanent. She dies first. I'm going to stay at $800 a month. That's why we do this for in-service deaths if you're over retirement eligibility, because it's the least reduction and you're already dead, okay? Option 2, 50%, maybe Chelsea doesn't need everything. Maybe we've got some other income streams coming in. Maybe they take me down to $900 a month. Upon my passage, she receives $450, okay? It's also permanent. She dies first, still staying at $900. Option 3, super popular option. It's usually not that much of a difference from option 1. You're going to pay a little more for it. So maybe instead of $800, they take me down to $750, okay? But if Chelsea dies, and I die first, Chelsea gets $750. She dies before me, my benefit pops back up to that $1,000. So this is a personal family decision, okay? I cannot tell you which one to choose. They will be covered with you, and this is something that you need to talk with your family about it, whoever your beneficiary is. Beneficiaries do not have to be your spouse when you retire. You can do a survivorship option to your next door neighbor. If you guys are really wanting to do a survivorship option, don't know who to choose, I'm happy to be your survivor. It has to be a person. People try to leave TCRS to their church, to their college. Can't do that. It's got to be a person, okay? So these are the 4 options. Hopefully it makes sense with that death benefit. If you're still working and you're over 60, why we do that option 1, because it's the least amount of reduction. It's 100%, okay? Beneficiaries, let's make sure we keep these updated, folks, okay? I can't tell you, and again, you're non-contributory, so it doesn't happen as much in a non-contributory structure, but I can't tell you how many times people will pass away and the ex-husband or ex-wife will receive their contributions. It happens all the time. Or people don't get counseled before they retire. This happens monthly. They don't get counseled. They talk to their cubicle mate, and they say, it's super easy. It's online now. You don't have to, it's very easy. And they don't pay attention to who their beneficiary is. They live happily into retirement. They choose a survivorship option. They die, and their ex-husband gets the payoff for the rest of his life. There's nothing we can do about it. So keep them updated. If you get counseled, that's the first thing they're going to go over with you. Is this the right person? Okay? Remember, nothing is automatically changed. Okay? Nothing is automatically changed. You have to proactively do that by logging on to your TCRS account. Where do we do that? We do that at retirereadytn.gov. Many of you are probably still familiar with mytcrs.com. That still works. I'm going to guide you to this, especially since you've got the 401k coming down the pipeline. It's a one-stop shop. It's got a ton of resources on it, a ton of planning tools, and it allows you to log on to both accounts. So once that 401k becomes active, you will have to go to both places to change your beneficiary, okay? But under one landing page. So we've talked a lot about beneficiaries while you're working. It can be whoever you want it to be at retirement, whoever you want it to be. You might be choosing the max, and it doesn't matter, right? Because it dies with you. But it needs to be a person. You can now select multiple beneficiaries for survivorship option purposes. We used to not allow that. Legislation was changed a few years ago. And this is kind of a direct result of people wanting to do a survivorship option to their kids. These are people that don't need TCRS, right? Think about the reduction you're going to see if you're going to leave your TCRS to your 28-year-old. Huge reduction, okay? But a lot of people do it because they don't need TCRS. And they don't want to leave their kids a lump sum of money. They want to leave them a lifetime annuity that they get every single month, okay? Generally, people will just put one on there. If you choose a survivorship option, you better like that person. You have 60 days when you receive your notice of retirement letter to make a change, okay? Usually people don't. They've gone through the process. Their spouse has sat in with them on this retirement counseling session. They've made this decision, but you do have 60 days to say, you know what? I want to go back to the max, and you can call the 800 number and make that change. All right, what happens when you leave before you are retirement eligible? If you are vested, just remember to put your application in 90 days before your 60th birthday, okay? We give you a 150-day grace period. So if you forget about it, we'll go up to 150 days out and retroactively go to your 60th birthday. So you're here 6-7 years, you go to the private sector, you move the state. Just remember, you do a benefit at 60. It might not be very much, but it'll pay a bill. And I'll tell you a story. I was meeting with a banker on a completely personal issue. We were just chatting and talked about what I did. And he said, yeah, I started at the state working in financial institutions. I did it for 5 years back in the early 80s. He's a bank president now. And I said, cool. I said, are you enjoying your monthly check? He said, what are you talking about? 67 years old. So he missed out on basically 7 years of payments. Only paid it back 150 days. It wasn't going to be much. He was making like $13,000 back in the early 80s. But he said, wow, he said, this would have paid my cell phone bill the past 7 years. So So don't forget to retire. If you are not vested, again, you are non-contributory, so your contributions, those of you that do have contributions that maybe work somewhere else, you can take those out. I'm always going to encourage people not to if they have contributions. Why? Because if you're not vested and you leave here, so you've got 3 years, move to California, you've got 7 years to come back to any TCRS employer and keep building your service. After 7 years, you lose membership, okay? Again, we talked about disability. If we separate from service due to disability, you need to apply for disability benefits. All right, can we go back to work after retirement? Sure, most people do, especially those folks that can retire in their early 50s, late 40s with 30 years of service. If you want to come back to a TCRS employer, though, you are limited, okay? And I don't know how many 120-day contracts Hendersonville does. Some do a ton. The county does tons of them. Some don't do it at all. But you can come back to anywhere, and they can hire you on under a 120-day contract, which converts to 960 hours a year, and you get paid hourly. There is a salary limit. I think it's 60% of what you were making before, which usually is kind of a non-issue if you're doing part-time work. And you can still pull your full pension down, okay? This is only if you go back to a TCRS employer. I'll give you an example. Highway departments love this. Why? Because when pothole season comes around, they bring their retirees back under these contracts because they're trained and they're able to go out and do that work, okay? There's a 60-day waiting period, so you got to take a little break. That can be easily waived by the employer. This happens a lot in change of leadership roles, okay? They need to retire and come back the next day and train the replacement. No problem. HR can waive that like that. Retirement Readiness Resources, again, retirereadytn.gov has got a ton of resources on it, both on TCRS and the deferred comp plans. Our call center is open Monday through Friday from 8 to 7. You can talk to them both about TCRS, and then once that 401k comes along, should you choose to participate, talk to them about that as well. We do group presentations whenever you want us to. Benefit estimates, this is important. For those of you in the room that have at least 27 years of service, or you're age 57, that means you're 3 years away from being eligible to retire. If you've not ordered a benefit estimate, go ahead and order one. Even if you're like, wow, I'm not going to retire until I'm 65 or 62 because I want early Social Security. It doesn't hurt you to order a benefit estimate. Why? That's the first time you get to see what the survivorship option reductions look like. You're going to get a nice piece of paper from us that says, here's your max, because all they're going to do is ask you for a date. You can give them a date 4 years in the future. And they push your service out. They use your current high five average, so it'll be a conservative estimate, hopefully, right? And then it'll show you your max and then all 4 survivorship options. And all they're going to ask you is for a date and to confirm your beneficiary. Nobody here will know you ordered a benefit estimate, okay? You can order them once a year, okay? That's step 1 in the retirement process. When you know your date, I'm retiring in 6 months. Call the 800 number and say, I need a pre-retirement counseling session, and I need you to order me a new benefit estimate with that. I know my date now, okay? And then they're going to send you an email, and you will do a virtual meeting with one of our pre-retirement counselors who will walk you through your benefit estimate, explain in detail your survivorship options, walk you through the online retirement application, talk to you about Social Security. If you're in our 401k, talk to you about that as well. And you're going to walk out of that meeting and you should be able to, not walk out, log off of that meeting. And you should be able to do your application in about 15 minutes, okay? 17 retirement plan advisors across the state. Ben Straley is your retirement plan advisor. He works extensively in this area, both with county employees, city Gallatin employees. He'll be working with you extensively once we get that 401k up and running. He doesn't just do that. He's also the only person that is authorized to look at your TCRS account. So if you ever have an outside, this happens all the time, outside vendors saying, hey, we'll talk to you about TCRS, they can't, okay? They're not allowed to. Only I can, and Treasury and the retirement plan advisors through Empower. Ben does work for Empower, but he only works for the state, okay? He doesn't work for any other plans. He will be here, him and I will be doing a series of meetings with you when that plan is up and running, and he'll also talk to you a lot about TCRS. He'll be able to sit down with you one-on-one, project out your TCRS, talk about any other outside assets you have, do one-on-one retirement planning with you. These are meetings that would cost, $500 to $1,000 with a financial advisor. He is licensed to give you advice, which I am not, okay? He is licensed. I do one of these every single year. My wife and I sit down and do one every year. And they take into account all her stuff, too. All her stuff's a big piece of our retirement. So they take into account all of that. Okay, retirement process steps. And before you all start taking copious notes, this is going to be emailed to HR so they can send it to you. Annual statement is released once you're vested every September. You can look at your annual statement. It basically will show you what you would draw if you left today and turned it on when you're eligible. And it'll show you what you would draw if you were to retire at your first eligibility, okay? It won't say what you would draw if you worked 33 years. That's why I personally just do the iPhone math. It's easy. Again, I can't stress enough, when you're 3 years away from being eligible to retire, get your benefit estimate because you want to see your survivorship options. You might look at that benefit estimate and be like, I'm not doing a survivorship option. Or you might look at it and say, you know what, my spouse is the same age as me and the reduction's not that much. It's worth doing it. And again, this is, something that we really encourage. This is a family decision to make. And then once you have that date set, you're going to schedule your pre-retirement counseling session. 90 days out from your retirement date, submit the online application. This is not a rule. This is a suggestion. I do not want any of you all to miss a paycheck. I want you to be able to retire from Hendersonville and seamlessly get on payroll the next month for TCRS. That is not to say that those of you in this room that are retirement eligible might have a bad day and walk out the door and never come back. That's also okay. Are you going to get on the first payroll? No. We will be retroactively paying you back to your date, okay? Rule of thumb, let's get that application in 90 days. That is on the TCRS site. It's under the Services tab. We'll look at it here in a minute. Once your application's been processed, you are going to receive your notice of retirement letter. And folks, that's the first time you're going to see your true number. And usually people are happier with it because sick time's been put in and all that stuff, okay? Everything up to this point has been an estimate, okay? When you receive that letter, that's when that clock starts ticking on the 60 days to make a change. And that letter is going to say, this is the option you chose. This is when your first payroll is. And that's when the clock starts ticking. And here's how much money you're going to get. Those are the three big things it tells you. All right, so we moved a couple years ago to online only. You cannot get a paper application anymore unless you call and ask for one. And they will only let you fill them out under very strict circumstances, really. It has to be approved by the director of the system. So most people just do it online. It's very easy. You'll be logging on to your self-service account at retirereadytennessee.gov. The application's under the Services menu. If you get counseled, you're going to fly through this because they're going to walk you through this, okay? Here's what you need, though. You need your last paid date of employment. Your retirement date is always the day after that, okay? So June 30th is our big number. July 1st will be your retirement date. Make sure your mailing address is updated. We pay out many, many different states in the U.S. and several different countries. People move when they retire. Keep that updated. This is where you get your 1099 every year. We want to make sure you keep your information updated. Make sure your beneficiary information is correct, especially if you're going to do a survivorship option. Critical. If you're doing the single life annuity, it's not quite as important, but it still is, especially if you have any contributions in the plan. Most importantly, what am I going to select? Am I going to take that max? Am I going to take one of those four options? Again, when you're filling this out, you should know that. You will know that by then. I added this bullet point because I've seen it happen too many times. People running around the house looking for their checkbook, and what happens, right? Time you out, just like any other website, because it's very secure. So make sure you have that banking information in front of you. We only pay via direct deposit, and you need to determine your desired tax withholdings, okay? We cannot give you tax advice. The only advice I usually say is take your benefit estimate to your tax preparer the year before, and they'll give you some advice on what to withhold. You can go in and change that anytime, just like you can now while you're working, okay? Change it anytime. And then once you submit it, it's kind of like the Domino's pizza tracker. You can see where it's at. So when online retirement first came out a couple of years ago, and state employees did this a lot, they thought, wow, this is great. I can retire. My employer's not going to know about it. I can be sneaky about it. Well, if you look at step 2, where does that application immediately go? It goes here. It goes directly to your employer, and what do? They're going to certify everything you put on that application. They're going to make sure that salary number's right. They're going to certify that sick time, okay? I don't know if you allow people to run out, if you allow your employees to run out annual time or not, but remember, if you're running out your annual time at the end, you're still working. Your retirement date's after that, okay? Then you can see when it's in process with us, and then you can see when it's approved, and you're going to want to kind of keep an eye out for that notice of retirement letter, okay? We think all plans are needed to be retire ready. TCRS, Social Security, maybe will give us 30, 40%, I don't know. We'll see. And then defined contribution, whether that being your current 457 or the 401k that we have coming on board here in the next couple months, okay? We're here to help. Ben is a great resource. He will be able to walk you through some really good retirement planning resources. Here's my information. We're going to open it up for questions, but if you think of a question tonight, you just want to email me, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Again, if you can get a benefit estimate, please get one. If not, you can always do that math on your phone to get an idea of what you get. So at that point, I'll go ahead and open up the questions. Yeah, that's a great question. Gentleman asked if when you retire and you go back to another TCRS employer, yes, you can still pull your full pension down provided you're on a 120-day contract. Or what happens all the time is you're retired, and we see it in changes in administration sometimes at the state level, maybe someone will pull you back and say, hey, we really need you to come back and be the finance director, something like that. And you have an offer you can't refuse at a TCRS employer. That's fine too. All you got to do is let us know. We suspend your benefit, and you keep building your service and salary. And if you're making a lot more money in this new job, how long are you going to want to do it for? Why? Because we're going to take that number and apply it to all your Hendersonville time. Okay? One AFC. Doesn't matter where it's at. Okay? So you can do that as well. Or you can go work in the private sector and make as much money as you want to. And it will never affect your TCRS benefit. Or you go work for a non-TCRS governmental employer. Metro Nashville government is packed full of TCRS retirees, okay? They have a separate pension plan. It's a good one, too. Our teachers in Chattanooga, what do? They go teach in Georgia all the time. They can retire at 52 with their 30 years. They'll put another 10 years in Georgia, pull down 2 pensions, no problem. Same thing happens up here with Kentucky, okay? Just can't go back to another TCRS employer. Any other questions? Well, I will stick around for a while, so if you all have anything more personal, I'll be happy to talk to you about that, and I appreciate you all coming. And we'll be back in the next few months, so there'll be communication going out about that here in the next few months.